Fellow patriot, what if everything you knew about surviving the coming crisis was dead wrong? Take a good look at these numbers. This is the U.S. debt piling up faster than the eye can see, spinning out of control, until one day too soon, you're going to wake up with no food on your table, no retirement fund, no social security, no future ahead. And then it hits you. All these years, your neighbors gave you a weird look for being the conspiracy wacko up the street. Your own family ignored your concerns about the coming crisis while you tried to keep them safe, prepared, spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars, trying to find the best way to keep chaos at bay when the shit hits the fan. All these years, you were right, and you prepared. And now the shit has hit the fan. And it's nothing like you've ever imagined. In the blink of an eye, you realize you're just as weak and vulnerable as if you had done nothing to prepare. Fellow patriot, my name is Jason Richards, and I have a very urgent message for you. So listen carefully and tune out anything that might distract you, because I'm about to show you the 3 deadly survival mistakes you and 98% of Americans make, which will end your lives before this crisis even begins. So forget everything you think you know about surviving a full-blown disaster and get ready to find out the ultimate strategy for long-term survival that enables you and your family to prevail through any crisis and live even better than before. In just a moment, you're going to discover who's after your family and the simple, surefire steps you can take to save your loved ones from the greatest threat facing the U.S. right now. Like I said, I'm Jason Richards, a straightforward survivalist and the founder of the Family Survival Course. But most importantly, I'm a red-blooded American and a true patriot just like you. Someone determined to expose the political and economic cover-ups of our time, even if it means risking my life in the process. And believe me, I'm up for the challenge. After spending half my life as a member of the U.S. Army, being deployed in both Gulf Wars and most recently in Afghanistan, I've seen more than my fair share of tragedies. And I know something you don't. Something that's going to make all the difference when this shit hits the fan. But I'm going to need you to keep an open mind to what you're about to discover here. Because believe me, it's no picnic. What I'm going to reveal to you is something no other survivalist, prepper, or friend of the people has ever told you before. For the last 3 years, I've been studying the causes and effects of the most dangerous financial crisis that ever hit us. The meltdown of 2007. And what I found is so terrible, it will scare the hell out of you. During my military career, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of high-ranking state officers and decorated military officers, all great people who knew a lot of state secrets. I have a lot of friends in the Army who've started noticing that something really bad is going on, like the retired Marine in this video here.
I was a colonel. I'm a retired colonel in the Marine Corps. When I was in Iraq, I was in charge. I was the Ministry of Defense coordinator. My job was to man, train, and equip the Iraqi army in Al-Anbar, Najaf, Karbala, and northern Baghuz provinces. And I can tell you right now, Homeland Security would kick their butts in a week. What's happening here is we're building a domestic military because it's unlawful or unconstitutional to use American troops on American soil. So what we're doing is we're building a military. It's called task organization. You take a command and then you attach units to it in order to accomplish the mission. What's happening is Homeland Security is pre-staging gear, equipment, consistent. What they're trying to do is use standardized vehicles, standardized equipment. I saw a picture in the Boston Globe during the marathon bombing where there was a state police officer. Actually, there were 2 officers. They both had identical helmets, flak jackets, weapons, everything I wore in Iraq, only it was all blue. The officer on one side had a big patch on his back that said Massachusetts State Police. Another officer next to him, his patch said Boston Police. And so what we're doing here, and let's not kid about it, we're building a domestic army and we're shrinking the military because the government is afraid of its own citizens. The last time more than 10 terrorists were in the same place at one time was September 11th, and all these vehicles in the world wouldn't have prevented it, nor would it have helped anybody. So I don't know where we're going to use this many vehicles and this many troops. Concord is just one little cog in the wheel. We're building an army over here, and I can't believe that people aren't seeing it. Is everybody blind?
Face it, the government knows what's coming, and they're preparing for your death. But before I go too far, I must confess I have some bad news. Being one of the most acclaimed survivalists of the moment also means I'm one of the most likely to be hunted down by our corrupt government. The powers that begin at the chance to see this page shut down. They have their watchdogs on my trail. I call them out for their repeated mistakes, their recklessness, and their share in the biggest cover-up in the history of the United States. Right now, they're wasting your tax dollars on hunting down people like us, people who are committed to exposing them for what they really are, traitors and criminals. So if you're planning on coming back later to see this, it will probably be gone. So please watch this till the end. Because the disaster about to hit us is greater than anything you can imagine, more devastating than any earthquake, and more damaging to our economy than the Great Depression, and a whole lot more destructive than a Third World War. Because the gut-wrenching truth is that this time, we'll be fighting against our biggest and meanest enemy ever, our own government. According to this suppressed article in the Washington Post, the real terrorists are the ones running this country. America is the largest sponsor of terrorism in the world and is terrorizing its own people into compliance and docility by spying on all Americans, using Homeland Security law to crush dissidents, labeling peaceful protests as terrorism, threatening to indefinitely detain American citizens without cause and without due process, and even threatening to kill any U.S. citizen on a whim. Right now, our good-for-nothing president is trying to fool everybody into thinking that things are not as bad as they look. But don't let yourself be fooled. Now, if you're like most people out there, you're already under the tyranny of deadly survival mistake number 1, underestimating the risk. We all know a crisis is coming, and yet we fail to see that it's already started. Whenever the right elements come together, collapse is the only possible outcome, and all of those elements are in play right now. Overwhelming national debt, rising food and fuel costs, rising unemployment, violent protests spreading like wildfire. It's all happening right now. But history shows us it didn't happen overnight. It never does. From the economic collapse in Spain to the revolution in Ukraine, every crisis has a starting point and a steady climb until the bottom falls out. And that's what gets most people tangled up. The gradual decline that tricks everyone into thinking things will go down a certain way and that there is going to be enough time to save themselves and their families. That's called tunnel vision. You prepare for what you imagine will happen and fail to see the real chaos lurking right around the corner. A quick look at inflation today will show you the official rate is 2%, less than 1/3 the rate it was 5 years ago. But if you believe that, if you trust the official numbers, you've got another thing coming. The truth is that for more than 16 years, the government has manipulated the numbers and underreported inflation by calculating the core inflation rate, which excludes gas and food prices. Since 2008, energy prices have tripled. Food prices have doubled. Right now, food inflation is so bad that food companies are forced to hide it in smaller packaging in a desperate attempt to keep their prices intact. Because of this hidden inflation, our dollar is devalued more and more each day. Every dollar you earn buys you less and less, and you are working more for less pay. And it's only getting worse. According to the government, the unemployment rate just dropped to 6.7%, the lowest it's been since 2008. According to a study published by Reuters, the real unemployment rate is actually 10.8%. That's 4 points higher than what our government is telling us, and it's rising. What's happening here is simple. To fix the high unemployment rate, our government chose to create new jobs like they should, but just change the definition of unemployment instead. So they swept the dirt under the carpet, changing the way the unemployment rate is calculated, and redefining unemployment as the number of Americans receiving unemployment benefits. If you've stopped receiving benefits, it doesn't matter that you haven't had a job in years. In Uncle Sam's eyes, you're not unemployed. The Fed does that because whenever the unemployment rate and inflation drop, the confusion is that the economy is getting better. And that means they can start raising the interest rates again. And this is where the banks come in and pass that increase on to you, the honest, hard-working American. Right now, there are only 86 million working Americans who support a whopping 317 million people. 40% of our working class is made of baby boomers, those born right after World War II. And they're approaching retirement fast. As of last year, a large percentage of those people have already left the workforce. In a few short years, when this phenomenon reaches the final stage, we will have to start importing not only our workforce, but everything else, from food to energy. With only 1 in 6 Americans still working, our productivity will drop to lows it hasn't reached since before the industrial age. What's even worse, less people working means less people with money to spend. Modern economy is built on buyers. In other words, it's fueled by market demand. When the market demand will drop to a halt, every American company will crash and burn, practically overnight. Imagine the day when only a handful of all Americans will still have a job. Who's going to drive the trucks to deliver food to your town? Where are you going to find a doctor when you need it the most? Or a policeman to protect you from getting killed? An ambulance to take you to the hospital when you've been shot? If you didn't know this already, the biggest single owner of the national debt is the Social Security Trust Fund, aka your retirement money. If you think the stock market crash that caused the 2008 recession was bad, wait till you see what 3,000%, 4,000%, even 10,000% inflation looks like. You will wake up one morning and there won't be any more food, not in any supermarket across the country. The image of empty shelves will haunt you day and night. And the only thing on your mind is going to be, what's my family going to eat tonight? Do we have enough food to keep us from starving until the crisis passes? But even if you get a tip about a supermarket restocking its shelves a few hundred miles away from your home, you won't be able to afford the gas to get there. Preparing for the unknown is a hard thing to do, and without the right information at hand, it can all go south in a matter of seconds. That's why you need to be fully aware of the imminent danger ahead without getting caught in a tunnel vision. Because if you only prepare for what you think might happen, you only get one shot at getting it right. Did you ever stop to think what will become of you and your family if you get this one wrong? Because it's all just one big disaster waiting to happen. And to make things even worse, here's what the experts predict for 2016. Warren Buffett, who's made his billions guessing the future of the market, is offering a much scarier kind of forecast these days. The Oracle of Omaha has been using recent public appearances to predict new terrorist attacks on the United States. Buffett declared, "We're going to have something in the way of a major nuclear event in this country. It will happen. Whether it will happen in 10 years or 10 minutes, it's virtually a certainty." You think 9/11 was bad? Warren Buffett is saying that what's about to hit us will make 9/11 look like child's play. He says it will be a $1 trillion event. Imagine the U.S. economy grinding to a halt not for days or weeks, but years or even decades. And this is unbiased information from a Democrat. So if you're betting your life on only one card and hope it will all play out your way, you're bound to make the second deadly survival mistake, stocking up on the wrong things. Medicine, food, water, electricity, fuel, and guns. These are all equally important in a survival scenario. If you don't cover all your bases, you'll end up at the mercy of others, the few smart ones who really know how to survive and thrive even in the worst of situations. According to a recent study called the National Climate Assessment, produced by more than 300 experts overseen by a panel of 60 scientists, we're already facing extreme weather events that seriously affect the economy, and it's bound to get even worse. Rising seas in the south put major cities like Miami at risk. From rapidly receding ice in Alaska to wildfires in the west, to heat waves and coastal flooding in the northeast, it all points to the massive damage that will happen to our food production industry. But food and drinkable water are not the only items you'll need when the coming apocalypse unravels. There are a lot of overlooked items you'll desperately need in a crisis, from the right kind of clothing to independent communication devices. You're going to need them all to survive and thrive in the long run. And that's not all. Even if you stockpile everything you need for surviving a long-term disaster, you're going to still need the survival skills that will keep you and your family safe and sound when all hell breaks loose. Even the most advanced preppers out there mistake real preparedness with survival gear hoarding, and they completely underestimate the life value of survival skills that will save your life sooner than you ever imagined. Because I don't care what they say. You can have a cabinet full of guns and ammo. You can have MREs to last you and your family a whole year. You are still not prepared. In a life and death situation, you have to be able to rely on yourself and yourself only for survival and prosperity. I'm not saying you have to waste thousands of dollars just to learn ground combat techniques or train as a doctor so you'd know how to save a life, but you need to know how to start a fire, how to build a latrine, how to cook your food and purify water so you don't risk catching a deadly virus, and lots of other simple skills that will most definitely decide your fate in a few short months. Ultimately, it's the often overlooked details, and not a rich man's stockpile, that will ensure your long-term survival. I mean, look, just think about it. If a whole country can run out of food, how can you and your family make sure you'll never go hungry? The good news is that there are ways, simple, easy ways of making sure you never rely on anyone but yourself for food and water, even electricity. The power to save you and your family from the coming disaster is in your hands. And this revealing presentation right here is your best chance of becoming the one person your family and friends can count on when the shit hits the fan. The sooner you know these simple facts, the better your chances of survival. Which brings me to the third and most dangerous survival mistake. Chances are you're doing it right now when you don't keep your prepping a secret. With the NSA apparatus tracking most of our email accounts, web pages, phone calls, you name it, we have just a few months left as free people. And the America you grew up in has already been replaced by a state police whose oppression is getting stronger by the day. According to the Washington Post, the NSA is collecting around 5 billion records a day about who we are, where we live, who our friends are, and everything else we hold to be private. They know your political beliefs. They know who you vote for. Anyone considered a threat will be thrown into a detention center, aka a FEMA camp. If you don't know this already, any person owning a registered gun is already on Uncle Sam's most wanted list. So if you or any member of your family made the mistake of registering an old gun, I'm going to teach you the one thing you can do today to cross your family's name off that list. When our dollar won't be worth the paper it's printed on, this little piece of information is going to be your ace up your sleeve to help you fend off the military police coming to seize your guns, your food supply, your house, your freedom. If you don't know this already, the Department of Homeland Security has just brought large stockpiles of ammunition days before legislation was introduced that would restrict the amount a government agency can legally buy. And at the same time, FEMA has almost run out of space for storing the coffins that they're buying up like hotcakes. This is the terrifying truth. As of this January, FEMA is seeking contractors who can supply biohazard disposal facilities and 40-yard dumpsters to 1,000 tents across the U.S. with 24 to 48 hours notice. What is FEMA preparing for? Natural disaster, financial collapse, full-blown martial law? It doesn't really matter. What matters is they are preparing and they're doing it fast. That means we don't have much time left until disaster strikes. Now that Obama signed our execution order, the National Defense Resources Preparedness Executive Order, he can now seize any resource, property, or person at any time for any reason, without a hearing, without a trial, without asking permission. Every American will be a slave or a prisoner. No one in their right mind would sign such an act of terrorism against their own people unless they know what's coming, and they only want to save their fat asses. Or if they're actually the ones orchestrating this whole apocalyptic show, or both. Our corrupt leaders want complete power over you. They already own you, your food, your water, your power, your bank loans, your mortgage, your private information, everything. They are coming for your supplies. They'll leave you and your children desperately crawling with hunger because you're nobody to them. In their eyes, you're already dead. Hell, that's worse than being nobody. With every rotten deal they make, every corrupt law they pass, every new dollar they print, they are literally killing your chances of survival and a decent life one by one and day by day. As George Washington predicted, the time is near at hand, which must determine whether Americans are to be free men or slaves. Fellow patriot, it's time for you to wake up, see the terrifying truth, and do the right thing before disaster strikes. But right now, if you are puzzled by the seeming lack of alternatives, you're not alone. I lost countless nights trying to figure out how to survive and protect my family from what I now know is sure going to be the worst time in our history. And for the past 3 years, I've worked very hard to prepare as many people as I could so they can protect themselves, their families, and their community without relying on anyone but themselves. Our community of prepared citizens knows what's coming, and they're ensured their survival 100%. Here's what one of our members says. The day Obama took office, I could feel something really bad is going to happen to this country. I don't know about you, but it just doesn't feel right to me to have this kind of president. So I started doing my research, and thank God I found there's more concerned people like me out there. Your methods have turned out to be more effective than I expected. I tested most of them, and I'm finally at peace knowing my family is truly saved. I must admit, I didn't think preparing would be so easy. Jack, 53, from Texas. Remember what John Wooden, the famous college basketball coach, taught all his students? Build a shelter against a rainy day. Everywhere I turn, the signs are all obvious, right in front of me. You probably see them too. So prepare yourself, because with the right information, you too can turn the odds in your favor and come out on top of the food chain. The only thing is that at the moment, you can't find anything reliable on the internet or in the bookstores. Believe me, I've done my research, and I can say for a fact that what I'm about to share with you is the single most up-to-date survival system you can find anywhere. I know this because I've studied the best guides one can find online and elsewhere. And to be honest, I was very disappointed, and at one point even terrified. A lot of important chapters on survival were completely missing, and I discovered mistakes so big they could get someone killed if they followed that lousy advice. I mean, head over to the Department of Homeland Security's website and follow their guidelines. I dare you to. You'll be prepared enough for a short energy blackout or a heavy rainstorm. But you won't have a chance in hell of surviving the earth-shaking events coming our way with lightning speed. Follow their advice, and you might as well buy a one-way ticket to a FEMA camp, because that's exactly where you'll end up if you can't provide for yourself. If you're not prepared to survive the 18 to 24 months it could take before calm and order are restored, you're putting the lives of yourself and your family in danger. And don't try to BS yourself into thinking that it's not as bad as it looks. I can tell you from experience, wishful thinking never got me anywhere. I'm a man of action, and through action and many years of training, I've come to be the survival expert that I am now. And now, I want to help you get there way faster than I did, because there's no greater feeling in the world than knowing you can protect your family from any disaster. And they know that only you will do that for them. So with that in mind, I created Extreme Family Survival, the ultimate strategy pack for long-term survival, a simple system that anyone can follow to make sure you're never left unprepared. I've made the road to preparedness as simple as getting dressed in the morning. Every skill, every tactic, and every survival secret you need is in our complete survival package, Extreme Family Survival. You will benefit from all my hard work and experience, but without having to go through the hell and back like I have. This is the ultimate survivalist field reference book that simply shows you all the survival skills you need to survive with your family through any crisis, even if you're over 80 years old and can't lift a rifle anymore. With your family's faith in you and the knowledge and survival skills I'm going to teach you, you too can become a survival expert, envied even by someone like Bear Grylls, even Lee Stroud. You will not find another survival system like this anywhere else in the entire United States. But here's what you're about to have access to. From survival medicine to power crisis, from food shortages to natural disasters, from home invasion to martial law survival, everything is covered in this ultimate extreme survival pack. Each survival chapter is laid out in short and to the point separate documents that paint a clear image of every survival situation you need to cover. Simply follow the steps and you will never feel or be unprepared again. So let's take a peek inside the Extreme Family Survival Program and have a taste of what's included in your order. First off, we have the Survival Medicine Guide, which shows you everything from how to save a life, even if you don't have any medical experience, to the natural remedies that can cure everything from a cold to a widespread infection. During a crisis, lots of accidents can happen, but if you follow our method, you'll know exactly what to do when you, your family, or even a stranger needs help. Plus, you'll learn a simple diagnostic strategy and how to choose the best cure that will save you and everyone in your family from a lot of pain and suffering. There are very stressful times ahead of us, and if you're not careful, your body can go haywire. A severe headache is the last thing you need when you have to defend your family from intruders. Use my advice, and you'll never have to go to bed sick. And the best part is, this is something you can benefit from starting now. I'll also give you a list of what items your medical kit should include, so that it covers everyone's needs, and I'll tell you where to get them all. This will cost you significantly less than what you'd spend on a ready-made kit. Next up, we have the Survival Food Guide, the ultimate field reference book on stockpiling, storage, survival cooking, and growing your own food. Quickly learn the never-ending food formula, an insanely cheap but very productive method to enjoy your favorite food and never run out of it. Because there's nothing more horrible than watching your children beg for food and seeing the tears in their eyes when they turn paler and thinner by the day. When famine and chaos strike, those who haven't prepared are going to regret it bitterly. But use my systematic approach, and you won't even have to buy anything special. You'll be able to build your own stockpile of food just going about your daily life. When your neighbors will have to trade everything they have for food, you and your family will never know what it's like to be hungry. You'll also learn how to find food if you need it once a disaster has already struck. Plus, you'll know which foods store well, which you should avoid, how to store foods in a hot climate. And you'll have a ready-made list with stuff that you already have around the house, which many people don't know is actually the ground zero of a good stockpile. It's very important to be able to use whatever you already have around the house instead of throwing your money out the window and wasting valuable resources. This will always give you the upper hand in any negotiation. The hungry criminal gangs will gladly hand you their ammo in return for your food. The Stockpile Vindicator chapter lets you in on where to hide and how to guard your stockpile without ever giving anything away to FEMA. Did you know every house has invisible spots that can be used to hide your supplies so that no one except you will ever have access to them? This will save you a lot of trouble if anyone tries to break in when you're not home. You'll be exposed to real-life lessons from Hurricane Katrina, Japan's devastating tsunami, and the San Francisco earthquake. You'll also learn why sometimes access to resources is more valuable than owning resources, which are the things that can never be stored but nature always has enough of, and how to build your inventory of resources ahead of time. In the Secret Ingredients chapter, you'll discover the multi-purpose foods, seeds, and other items that can feed you, treat your wounds, and clean your clothes. This complete list of good-for-all items is a real gold mine and will save you a lot of time, money, and storage space. Next up, we have the Water Crisis Guide, a complete set of information about how to build a well and purify contaminated water without having to boil it. plus why you should never store water in this common container, and how to use the cheapest solutions to make sure you have plenty of drinkable water even in the most severe drought. In the Home Safety Guide, you'll learn all the easy steps to having a house safer than a bunker, so that you'll be indestructible in the comfort of your very own home. No one gets in, no one gets out unless you want to. I'll also show you how to fireproof your house, every inch of it, including the windows and doors. This is an inexpensive method, and you can actually have a fun time with your kids painting the walls with the special paint that prevents them from catching fire. Your family will be safe from fires, safe from looters, safe from the government. Your basic human needs will never be violated. In the Get Your Gun Guide, I'll show you how to ditch what you have now for the only gun that outperforms them all. You'll never quite run out of bullets for this one. Warning, it's deadlier and messier than an AA-2 automatic shotgun, and it never backfires. Once you know how to choose the right weapon and how to use it when someone tries to attack you, you'll always be the one left standing. This is what will get you out when the military police come for your guns. And there is no way they can see this coming. They'll run from your house covered in shame, never to come back. They'll even try to cut a deal with you, and I'll share some of the tricks on how to make the best of this opportunity. But what do you do if a natural disaster strikes first? Do you know what your kit should include and which items you can do without? The answer to these questions is in the book on Natural Disasters Kit, which covers everything about tornadoes, earthquakes, drought, floods, tropical storms, hurricanes, tsunamis, and even volcanic eruptions. This one shows you how to fix your disaster kit in less than 60 seconds, and the 3 items you must have on you at all times when the shit hits the fan. Next, we have the Financial Survival Guide, a revealing course that offers you the plans, resources, and skills that will allow you to turn the coming economic collapse to your advantage. And it comes with a special bonus: how to barter for profit. Discover the never-ending bartering cycle and how to be one step ahead of the community's needs. Forget about wasting thousands of dollars on useless long-term stockpiles. This one thing is more important than hoarding a metric ton of wheat. It will get you everything you need before you need it. All you have to do is swap the things you don't need. Few people know that in a crisis, items have a demand cycle, just like the commercial products on the market. If you know how to smell the trends, you'll turn the cycle in your favor and never risk running out of something you desperately need. You will know how to barter a bottle of water for pounds and pounds of fresh meat. The Martial Law Survival Guide will keep you and your family safe from curfews, rationing of basic foods, enforced relocations, and confiscation of firearms and supplies, and also from summary arrest execution by soldiers, paramilitary police, and other jackbooted types wielding assault rifles. And it too comes with a free bonus: Riot Safety for Patriots. This guide has everything you need to know to keep you safe, no matter how bloody the streets will get. Fear and intimidation are the government's main weapons against you. But I'm going to teach you 7 ways to neutralize attackers and ultimately render them defenseless. You'll also learn first how to not be the victim, and then how to avoid being sucked into a faceless mob. In the Power Grid Collapse Guide, you'll get your hands on the surest and easiest way to become completely independent from the power grid. When disaster strikes, commodities like energy, fuel, water, and food will be restricted for the normal citizen. Most power plants will shut down, and those still left operating will only be able to produce a small amount of energy, rationed to a few hours of electricity per day, during which the power grid will collapse several times because of the overwhelming demand. That means no heat for you during the blistering cold winter, no air conditioning to let you breathe on those long, hot, burning summer days, no washing machine, no electric oven, no TV, no lights, unless you learn all the easy steps for building your inexpensive power kit. You're sentencing your family to a really dark existence, and you'll hate yourself for not doing something when you had the chance. I'll show you how to put up solar panels to sustain all your energy needs over just one weekend. And I'm also throwing in the blueprints for a backup power source so you can take advantage of everything nature has to offer. Follow my specific instructions and step-by-step drawings, and you'll have a small wind turbine. Easier to assemble than a Lego set, and 20 times cheaper than any product on the market. Having your own homemade energy will be pure heaven. You'll be able to cool off inside your house when it's 120 degrees outside and keep that refrigerator running smoothly when the power grid collapses. Most people think that generating your own energy is backbreaking and would rather just bury their heads in the sand and give up the fight. Throw their whole paycheck to the energy companies and die poor. But why do that when all you have to do is follow this easy recipe and have free energy for life? Okay, so now you have plenty of drinkable water, delicious food at all times, a house safer than a bunker, guns with ammo, and all the electricity you need. They will all serve you well when disaster hits, but there is one more thing that's absolutely paramount when it comes to survival. In the Survival Mindset Guide, you'll learn how to stay calm no matter how terrifying things might get. and how to make the right decisions fast, and persuade the people around you to do what they must in order to survive. There's no way to sugarcoat this, but sometimes people will die around you. You have to get your mind ready for the apocalyptic times that will be coming for us. Learn the samurai secret to control your reactions and master what others think are impossible skills. The Extreme Family Survival Guide is the unprecedented and unrivaled even by the best survival boot camps in the world. Guaranteed to get you out of any disaster without sacrificing quality of life. When all hell breaks loose, you will think back to this moment and thank God you had the chance to take advantage of this life-saving offer. But it's urgent that you act today. Like Warren Buffett said earlier, whether it will happen in 10 years or 10 minutes, it's virtually a certainty. You have to put your seatbelt on before the car accident. Once it happens, it's too late. Same thing with preparation. The moment we default, and we will default, just look at the national debt clock. The jig will be up and the game will be over. So don't take this lightly. Your government has abandoned you. Your pensions will never be paid. Forget about your right to freedom, your right to bear arms, your right to health care and retirement funds. They're long gone. You're going to watch helplessly as the Fed will devalue the dollar even more when they order the Treasury to print more money in a desperate attempt to sustain the economy. A case full of $100 bills won't be enough to buy you a loaf of bread. That's when the government will start rationing your food and water. When this happens, hungry, desperate people will turn into savages on a killing spree. And that's when the military police will become the American exterminating force. That will be the day when all hell breaks loose. It'll also be the day you're thanking yourself for watching this video and taking action. Because you prepared. John F. Kennedy was right when he said, there are risks and costs to a program of action, but they are far less than the long-range risks and costs of comfortable inaction. Which brings me to the value of the Extreme Family Survival Pack. As you can imagine, I've spent literally years compiling, implementing, and organizing this information. This is top secret, extremely valuable information. Even the fact that I'm sharing it with you puts my life in danger. You can imagine that coming up with a price isn't easy. It's hard to put a price on a system that will not only keep your family safe and healthy, but will also make you a leader that everyone around you will turn to for guidance in their time of greatest need. What is it worth to have the peace of mind this life-saving system will give you? What is it worth to know that your kids won't go hungry and your home will be a safe haven for everyone you care about? If I price it too low, you'll think it is not as valuable as it really is. If the price is too high, then the millions of people who truly need this won't be able to afford it. So I decided to take the middle ground here and make sure money won't stand in the way of your secure and happy future. Because I know in my heart that every decent American out there deserves a chance to save himself and his family. So if you act right now, that shows me you really do care about securing your future in the coming crisis, and you deserve to be respected like a real survivalist. With that in mind, I'm going the extra mile here and giving you all 10 guides plus 5 free bonuses for just $27. When you hit the button below this video at only $1.80 per guide. You will not find an offer like this anywhere else. But now I'm going to tell you a secret. Since you've watched this far, and this is not something many people know, all that matters when you look for the right kind of help in a survival scenario is the quality of the information, not the quantity or the price. So I decided to make this available to anyone with the desire to protect themselves and their family by only charging a single payment of $27. If life-saving information is what you want, that's exactly what I'm offering you today. This complete package covers all aspects of survival in an easy-to-use system so that you never get overloaded by a bunch of useless information. It is the ultimate strategy for saving time and money while preparing for the inevitable. You'll pay $27 one time and have a lifetime access to the Extreme Family Survival Pack, which includes the complete set of 10 guides, plus the 5 free bonuses and free product updates for life. On top of that, you'll become a member of our survival movement, and as I continue developing and perfecting new ways to keep you in good health, shelter, and wealth, no matter what happens, I'll send you every new tactic I discover completely free of charge. It's a bargain, isn't it? That's deliberate. I've decided that since the government is speeding up their preparedness, we must start preparing big time. I felt I couldn't just go on teaching my mindset to just a few patriots. So I'm pricing this information-priced program for everyone, even if you're living paycheck to paycheck or on a fixed income. So what's $27 when this information can save your life? Especially when you consider that when the time comes, you'll have knowledge so valuable that your neighbors will gladly trade you anything you want for it. I'm talking about food, water, tools, even silver and gold. For the immense value you get, I could hardly call that a price. But remember, chaos won't wait quietly at your door. until you're finally ready to stand up and protect yourself. You need to act now and see for yourself how people everywhere in this country are using my method to build their defenses against the coming apocalypse. Here's what some of them say. George from Alabama. Sir, hats off to you and your team. I went to 4 boot camps before I discovered your program, and I learned a lot of things, but I had no way of knowing, that is until I met you folks, that most of it was actually, well, just a bunch of BS. Now I doubt that these fancy karate moves would have given me a fighting chance when coming to face with an armed criminal coming from my stockpile. Hank from Missouri says, I live in a very bad neighborhood. My house was broken into more than 10 times. One of those times, those bastards beat me unconscious, and they just left me there. I don't remember how many times I've changed my locks and I've tried everything. It just didn't work. I couldn't save money to move to a better place because of all these robberies. I swear to you, I was hopeless when I found the page on the internet. My God, it works! They've tried to break in several times, but they can't anymore. And for the last 6 months, I've been able to save some money and have a peaceful sleep at night. I don't think I want to move anymore. But the important thing is, even if I decide to move to a bigger place at some point, I will always be protected. I cannot thank you enough. George from Ohio says, I had abandoned my faith in the hands of the Lord. This page opened my eyes, and I remembered what I once knew had been forgotten because of fear. My life is God's gift for me on this earth, and I am honoring His precious gift by protecting myself and my family for as long as I can. And I want to thank you for reminding me of that. I can tell you wrote this for the honest, decent American. I found it very easy to understand and even easier to put into practice. Listen to these people and decide for yourself if you want to keep the illusion of having a normal life in the months to follow, or if you want to ensure that whatever happens, you will have the means to live like before, and even better. This power is real. All you have to do is reach for it. I promise you, it will give you the great peace of mind knowing that whatever the future has in store for this country, you and your family are prepared to overcome any obstacle and live to tell the story. Just imagine the smile on your children's faces when you bring home dinner for them. Imagine the relief your wife will feel when you'll chase away the armed looters coming to get your stockpile. Picture your parents getting the medicine they need because they'll know how to get it for them. I don't think there's ever going to be a prouder parent than yours. Everyone around you will see the great man that you are, and you'll be an inspiration for your kids when they grow up. You'll be the legend in your family for entire generations to come, because they will owe their existence to you. And if that's not something worth living for, I don't know what is. What you choose right now will decide your future. Click the button below this video now and grab your Extreme Family Survival Pack before the video ends at only $1.80 per book. If you hesitate, it says a lot about your chances of survival in a life and death situation. If you already decided you want this guide for yourself and are only still here because you don't like to leave things unfinished, then good for you. I can't wait to have you on board. But if you're still pondering it, that's something you need to get out of your way quickly. So I want to make this easy for you. It's a risk-free decision on your part. You're completely protected by my love it or leave it guarantee. So all the risk is on my shoulders, where it should be. So if for any reason you're not thrilled with what the Extreme Family Survival Program will do for the safety of your family, you have 60 full days and nights to send us back the manuals, and I'll refund every penny you paid. No questions, no hassles, just every penny back. You have 2 full months to go through the entire system, read everything, follow all the checklists, check out our online community, and make sure it's exactly what you want. I know you'll love it, so I'm not worried. So you really only have a simple question to ask yourself. Can you make a quick life-saving decision right now? Is the long-term safety of your family worth $27? The simple system I'm offering will give you every skill, tactic, and technique you need to make sure your family not only survives, but also thrives when the inevitable collapse finally comes. You don't want to think back to this moment and say, why didn't I just spend the $27 that day? Things would be so much easier if I had. There's no better time than now to take action and prepare for the harsh future, before it's too late. I realize that this might not be the easiest thing for you to digest. Facing reality is darn scary, and most people would rather just ignore it. And that's understandable. But if you care about yourself and your family, then you'd better be worried. You know you have every reason to be. So you can start putting those real concerns into proper action now. Because the whole purpose of realizing the truth is for you to use it to save yourself and the ones you care about. And don't kid yourself for a moment into thinking you'll have plenty of warning signs before the shit hits the fan. Those signs are here right now, knocking at your door. An economy bleeding through every cracked hole. Corrupt politicians, increasing poverty, widespread mass riots, failing social services. Governments everywhere turning against their people. The gap between rich and poor getting bigger and bigger. And all of that is here to stay. But with the right information, you can turn the odds in your favor and become a well-respected survivor. So go ahead, click the Add to Cart button and start owning that peaceful night's sleep, knowing that you chose the best way to protect yourself and your family when this shit hits the fan. Still here? You must have some questions. Let me see if I can answer a few of them. 1. What's included with my investment in the Extreme Family Survival Pack? You'll get a detailed, step-by-step survival blueprint made up of 10 guides and 5 free bonuses. These cover everything you need to keep your family safe, from home defense to foraging for food, from grid-free energy to sanitation. And it's written based on first-hand experience, not some armchair survivalist who's guessing what'll need to be done. Here are the 15 manuals again: Survival Medicine, Water Crisis Guide, Survival Mindset, Survival Food Guide, Home Safety, Get Your Gun Guide, Power Grid Collapse Survival, Natural Disaster Kit, Martial Law Survival, Financial Survival Guide, Seasonal Survival, Epidemic Survival, How to Build Your Wind Turbine, How to Build a Shelter, Riot Safety for Patriots, and How to Barter for Profit. 2. What are the terms of the guarantee again? Go ahead and invest in the Extreme Family Survival Program right now by clicking the button that's below this presentation. Once you do, you'll have a full 60 days to implement the action plans, to discover the survival strategies, and to build your emergency supply system. If you're disappointed for any reason, or if you don't feel totally confident that your family is safe, simply send me an email and I'll immediately refund your entire purchase. 3. What happens after I hit Add to Cart button? After you hit the Add to Cart button below, you'll be taken to my secure encrypted checkout page. Once you've entered and submitted your information, you'll have immediate access to the most affordable survival package on the market at only $1.80 a book. 4. How long will this presentation be up for? I can't say, but probably not long. As soon as things start to get bad, I'll be taking it down and focusing on making last-minute preparations for my family. That's why it's urgent for you to get the Extreme Family Survival Program now, because you need to start taking steps immediately in order to be 100% confident that you and your loved ones are protected. 5. What if I live in a big city or a small town? Don't think there's any survival scenario that we left out, because we're covering every possibility here. Whether you live on a small island, in a remote town, or in a big crowded city, everybody's covered. So go ahead, click the order button so you too